Three, two, one. We're going live. What's up, everybody? Good evening. It is Friday, June the 2nd, 9:20 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Hope everybody's doing well. I was just struggling to get Rich Hellabass some redirect privileges, and I had it set up two different ways. Hopefully, it is working, but if it doesn't, no big deal. I'm not relying on that tonight, nor do I ever, so not a big deal. But hope everybody's doing well. Hope you had a great week. I have got a couple of packages to unbox tonight, and as you can see from the thumbnail, they're both JDM baits, or packages rather of JDM baits, and I am pumped to open them and show you what I got. We were talking last live stream a week ago about some of the baits that I was looking at in my carts at a couple of different places, specific like JDM retailers. But I also have, so I got one box from one of those websites and one from the hookup. So tonight we're drinking Elijah Craig. I think I cracked this bottle open with you guys last week, and now I'm gonna top it off in the next couple of days. So who knows? If we go wild, might even finish it tonight. We'll see. Hope everybody is doing well. Let me greet you guys real quick. We got Brendan in the house. I apologize. I showed up, 5 almost, not quite 10 minutes late, but Matt, what's up? Frank, I wasn't really waiting until he was done. I was just trying to get that squared away and give him the ability to redirect if possible when he's done, but I don't know if I got that set up properly. I did do it both ways. At first, I set it up so that anybody who I'm subscribed to could redirect to me, and then I set it up so that Rich specifically could redirect to me. So, I did both. At first, I had it set up to where anybody that I'm subscribed to could redirect, and I'm not sure if that worked. It was showing on his end like that wasn't a possibility, but then I unclicked that and added him in specifically as somebody who could redirect to me. And I don't know if it worked, if it updated in real time or not. But anyway, Dustin Taylor in the house says he clicked the link that Hellabass posted. Okay, no worries. Appreciate it. Don't know if it actually worked for him to redirect or if he just copy pasted the link that I provided. So anyway, cheers to everybody in here. Elijah Craig down the hatch. So delicious. Doesn't need to be put on ice. It is only 94 proof. The father of bourbon. Super delicious. And yeah, so you guys tell me, do you want to stay local and see what I got from the hookup, or do you want to go straight to Japan and see what I got from Samurai Fishing Tackle, I believe it was? Tell me which box you want me to open first, and I'll show you. Tim Maynard, click. What's up, playa? Yeah, cheers, dude. This is a fun glass that my sister gave me when she surprised me telling me that she was pregnant. So she is due in about a month from now, maybe 6 weeks or so, but her first kid, and super exciting. She's actually naming her son after, not necessarily after me, but my middle name and my grandfather's name and my uncle's middle name as well. So going to be a little baby James. Pretty cool deal. TN Bassmaster, how's it going? Hella just finished. Okay. Gators Adventures. Yo. Couldn't get it to work. Yeah, sometimes that happens. No big deal, guys. Tim says he wants Samurai. So does Gators. You've never heard of Samurai. Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up for you and just show you real quick what the website looks like, because it's a surprisingly good website. So I can pull that up and show you what the website looks like real quick, and then go ahead and open up the box so that you can see exactly what I picked up. So this is their homepage, samuraitackle.com. Okay. And I don't exactly know how it is that I found this website. I think I was looking specifically for one bait that I desperately wanted to get my hands on. And I searched it on Google and then tried to find it in stock. Managed to find it in stock here and then perused around. And, you can look just across different categories. So, like if we just look at soft baits, some of these are hit or miss. So if we look at soft swim baits, for example, you can see that they've got a bunch of different brands listed. Depths, for example, it's really just the Bumble Shad. The Rad Rabbit. This looks like a little mag draft type of deal. Pretty sweet. Never heard of that guy. The Shutter Bait. Not familiar with that. So I always love stumbling into new things like that. And, of course, you can find the main ones like the Gancraft Shape S. And I'm sure that they've got the Bariki Shads on here. A lot of Shape S's. Maybe not even Barikis. I don't know if those are Jackal, just the bounty fish and the Daraball, apparently. But I think they've got the bounty fish in the smaller size. Some of these websites do. Let's see if they do. So the 158 is the normal size. Yeah, they don't have the 140 on this website, but quite all right. You can poke around and look at all sorts of different baits that are on here. The Hasu Raver is not in stock. The IU Twitcher is sold out right now. So that was unfortunate to not be able to get my hands on those, but I did find some good stuff on this website, specifically after hunting down one particular bait. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I got. Let's go ahead and open up this puppy first and get right into it. Oh, thank you, Brendan. I appreciate it. I'm sure that my sister does as well. She just went on her baby moon trip with her husband to freaking Bali. Like not even 2 weeks ago at 32 weeks pregnant, flying as far as possible away from home as you can go. Kind of crazy, but it's very much like her to want to do all of the first time deals and make it as official as possible. I think she had 2 baby showers and did the whole shebang. So yes, I'm doing Samurai. But I'll tell you what, the one from the hookup is exciting too. So who knows? You might want to try and figure out how to stay awake, dude. Japan is where it's at. That's why I made the thumbnail all red and white, dude. I don't know if you noticed that. I was thinking about doing a play on the fact that it was Memorial Day, and funny enough, all this stuff's from Japan, but all right, I don't want to spoil it by showing you what I got, but I do love that in some of these JDM packages, they will wrap everything with Japanese newspaper. Pretty badass. Even got the little comics section here in Japanese. That's awesome. So I only got like a half a dozen baits in here. So it doesn't look like a ton, right? But smallest thing on top is the Depths B Custom Chatter. I've got one of these so far. Last year, I unboxed like a half a dozen different JDM chatterbaits. And I will say, after looking at them further, wow, this is unfortunate. The skirt just came right off of this dude. So I'm going to need to hand tie that back on. It does come on a, like the skirt comes with a little silicone tube, you know, which is not the craziest thing, but unfortunately that one was a little bit worn out. So I'm going to need to hand tie this back on. So it's not going to look as pretty right now as I show you this just naked. And ordinarily that would really piss me off if it were a US manufacturer, but the fact that this is a chatterbait and I can show you its components without the skirt is almost cooler. So this has a very traditional blade to line tie connection, which is rock solid, and it does make contact with the head. A lot of JDM chatterbaits do not, whereas the B chatter from Depths does. It's got a dual bait keeper on here, the second of which comes back pretty far on the shank of the hook itself. And then you'll notice that the snap is wrapped with like some shrink wrap. Not a bad idea. So the snap's not going to open up on you. And then it does have quite a beefy hook, especially compared to other JDM chatterbaits. So this is one that I am a fan of. I like the way that it behaves in the water. I've only thrown the one that I have a handful of times just to get a feel for it, and I quite like it. The other one that I've been throwing a bit more as of late, it's not the Amakatsu, it's the Nori's Hula Chat. I've been throwing that one quite a bit recently. You know, Matt, I have already been an uncle for the last 8 years, but yeah. My brother had a daughter before my wife and I did, and she's a year older than my oldest daughter, so, yep. All right, so when is my trip again? What trip did I tell you guys about? I'm not sure what trip I showed you. Let me try and catch up on these comments. You guys are flying. I appreciate that, but yeah, James is a great name. Plus, my sister is very religious, so I knew she was going to pick a name that was biblical. But let me go ahead and open the most exciting bait. The reason that I made this purchase and something that very few people stateside actually have their hands on, because it is a brand new bait and is not available in the US at all. And I don't know that many people have heard that it is coming. So you're right, Rich. The B Custom is very large for a JDM chatterbait. That is part of why I like it. It almost kind of compares with the jackhammer. I wish I had a naked jackhammer to be able to show you, but I'm not going to do that right this second. Maybe I'll do that later. I have a feeling some of you guys are going to dip out of here if I don't show you the juice right away. So here she is. This is the new Megabass Edo Shiner SSR. Okay, so the Edo Shiner is already a hyper popular jerkbait made by Megabass, and it is one of the shallower diving jerkbaits that they make. In fact, let me see if I can pull one out real quick for you. I don't know if my JDM Jerk baits are, here they are. All right. Edo Shiner, where you at? All right. So here's the Edo Shiner. It's got a taller profile, just a bigger body than the standard 110. And it has a pretty erratic action. It has a cupped bill, and it dives shallower than the traditional 110. So some people like it for that, for the fact that it goes shallower. Some people like it better because it's a bigger body and is a little bit more erratic. You'll see this matte shad color side by side. This guy is the Edo Shiner. So a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. And the bills are definitely, different. Okay. And now we've got an updated version in this Edo Shiner SSR. Check that out. It's got a curved bill. These outbarb hooks are ridiculous. That is super wide. So there's that original Edo Shiner next to the new guy, the SSR. Totally unique build that you really don't see on jerk baits, let alone anything else out there or on an existing bait. So when I heard that the SSR was coming out, I was very excited to see what this dude is about and give it a go. You'll see that it is dated 2023 Edo Shiner SSR. So pretty cool. Still weighs a ½ ounce, is the same body as the original, just with a totally different lip. I believe the internal weight transfer system is the same as well. This color is like the standard Oikawa, Wagen Oikawa. Okay. So that color will be a mass-produced color, I'm sure. I don't really know when this bait is going to come out, but I'm excited to try it. I want to see how the action compares. I've always kind of itched for a more shallow diving jerkbait, but I'm curious to see where this might come into play, where, say, a wake bait or a top water would, but working an erratic bait like this, just barely subsurface, might actually be the deal. Now, this is a fine art color, so pretty cool that I was able to find it on their website. It's fine art SEIU, so pretty natural color pattern here. Anyway, got those two baits in the Edo Shiner SSR. Excited to give them a whirl, and I will report back on initial impressions once I try them out. But I do fish a lot of bodies of water where I'm fishing from the bank in relatively shallow water and or where the grass is growing up high. And so jerk baits don't always come into play there, but with a super shallow diving jerk bait, could be legit. Hellabass, why do you say hard pass? I'm curious. Next bait, I talked about this last week as well, and I'm very curious about this dude. This is the Jackal Swing Mikey 115. This is a hard swim bait that actually is smaller looking than I thought it would be. So I'm really glad that I did not go out of my way to chase down the new version of it that was just released this year or is about to be released. It's in a 72 size. So this guy here is 115 millimeters long, 28.5 grams. So right at 1 ounce, but it's like a 4.5-inch bait. So you'll notice that this is a double jointed bait, and it has a very unconventional tail, a swing tail on it that helps stabilize the bait and also allows it to kick out pretty wild. It's a crank down style. However, it's a floating bait. So a lot of different ways to work the bait. And yeah, they just didn't have a ton of color selection on Samurai specifically. And I was more interested in tracking down the Edo Shiner SSR. You can find these on a number of different places, but I don't think anywhere stateside. So yeah, beaver tail, says Tim. However, I am tempted to show you guys right now just what the action of this dude looks like, because you guys can laugh at it all you want, but until you see it, I mean, good Lord. It might just blow your mind. Of course, I don't have it pulled up or anything like that, but I want to be able to show you like the original video of it. I don't know if this is it. I'm going to try and do a quick check. Yeah. All right. So let me try and pull this puppy up for you. Share. I want you guys to be able to see the action of this bait. So that's on the surface, just crawling. And then as you crank it down, has a pretty aggressive kicking action, that tail. But like, yeah, you see it kind of rolls as that tail really swings out. But you can slow roll this thing on the surface. Come on. Can kind of walk it in place. This is not the original video that I really wanted to be able to show you guys, but I wonder if I'll be able to find it. I'm fairly certain that when you burn this thing and then kill it, it kicks out pretty hard. This is not the original video, so I apologize. No big deal. We don't need to spend a lot of time on it. I'm not trying to sell you guys on the bait right now. That's not why we're here. But I'm excited to try this, and it's a super bite-sized bait, right? So as a floating bait, that's going to be quite a bit different than, say, a Gantarelle or a Gantarelle Junior, if you will. Let's see if I've got one of those handy to be able to show you. Ow. Not handy. Not sure where she's sitting right now, but the Swing Mikey 115. Okay. That was like $30 or something like that. And then I got one other hard bait. This is the OSP Blitz SSR. So the OSP Blitz is widely known as one of the best shallow diving square bill crankbaits on the market. But this is the SSR. So the original Blitz dives somewhere in the ballpark of 0 to 6 feet. And this guy, I think, will go no more than 3 or 4 feet. So it's just got a steeper lip than the original Blitz. This guy sure does look tiny. I I think it's the same as the original Blitz, but it's 51 millimeters, so 2 inches, and it weighs 8 grams, so just a little bit over a quarter ounce. And this color, I believe, is called like Tasty Shad or something of the sort. It's not listed here because it's all in Japanese. I can't read that, but does have a circuit board square lip, and I believe the original Blitz has more of a coffin style bill. Silent honeycomb construction. Curious to see how it casts and how it deflects, but a little bit cheaper than what you could find it for domestically. So I picked up one of these and am interested in giving it a shot. And then lastly, got a couple packs of soft plastics that I had never seen before. In fact, I did not know that Kitech even made these baits. There are a handful of soft plastics made by Kitech that you can find on some of these JDM websites, and these are pretty rad. So this is a chunk, the Flex chunk. They make this in a couple of different sizes. This specifically is the medium size in the green pumpkin chartreuse. And check this dude out. So it comes not quite split apart, but very easy to remove those. Although I suppose you could leave them together for a more streamlined presentation, but this looks like a very enticing chunk style bait. Very long kickers, super, not necessarily super thin, but with these cutouts, it's going to displace a lot of water, and I just like the look of the bait. So I got 2 packs of these. They were reasonably affordable. They come 6 to a pack, which is pretty sweet. And got one in the green pumpkin chartreuse and one in a straight black and blue. So it's got more of like a sapphire blue underbelly and then a classic black and blue top. So pretty excited about those. Really excited about all of them, but that is what I got in that order. Yeah, Rich, the Chunky D is good, as well as the, what is it called? The Mini D Chunk. Both of those are good baits, to be honest with you. In fact, I think I just tried the Chunky D. Nope, I've still got it sitting right here. I just picked it up last month. I heard you talking about it earlier on tonight's stream, that you rather like it. And I have a feeling that I'm going to as well. So obviously totally different type of action on this guy. But that Kitech chunk, I've just got a thing for Kitech. You know, and then here's the Mini D chunk from Missile. More of like a classic chunk style trailer. But both of those are excellent. But I've always been a big Kitech fan in general. And so when I see a new soft plastic of theirs, I'm always curious to see what it's about. So I don't blame you for saying what you're saying, but also, meh. Pretty funny. Yeah, SamuraiTackle.com if you want to check out any of those baits. So, again, the new Megabass Edo Shiner SSR with that wide bill, shallow diving, super shallow diving jerkbait. Adept's Custom B chatterbait with the skirt that, you know, fell apart the second that I pulled it out. But gaff of a hook, high quality hook, solid blade to head connection, consistent action on that. Definitely a quality bladed jig. The Jackal Swing Mikey 115 with an absolutely wild tail on it. does come with a hole so that if you wanted to add a stinger treble hook to that, you certainly could. I'm not exactly sure what else you would do. I don't think you would weight the tail, right? I don't quite know, but double jointed little crank down swim bait that is a floater, and then one of the OSP Blitz SSR. And I didn't think that they were all that available stateside until I realized that they were at the hookup tackle. So I've got another one of those, spoiler alert, in this package because the hookup was doing a unique sale during Memorial Day. And not only were they doing 15% off site-wide, but they were doing double and even triple the discount on some stuff. So pretty sick. I kind of had to take advantage. Plus, I had a cart loaded up with a few things in here from, I don't know, a week or two ago that I never pulled the trigger on. Daniel T in the house. What's up? How you doing tonight? Everybody's greeting Daniel. Daniel, you're the star of the show. Ooh, Jim, blade on the tail. Great thought. That might just be what I do, especially if I'm swimming this thing. Well, maybe even if I'm slow rolling it, it could still give it some enticing action. I did not think about that. Thank you for the suggestion. That very well might be the first thing I do with it. It's got just a little bit of a rattle. And then, of course, those joints are going to click. Double joints, very fluid swimming action. And I think, don't quote me on it, but I think what sold me on it was seeing the action of it on like a fast retrieve and then stop. And the way that it kicks out to the side was something that really appealed to me. So I forgot that I got a piece of apparel, but I'm actually not mad about it. I got a piece of apparel from the hookup. And this is one of the, I believe, Sims. Let's see here. Yep. So let's see if they mention on the packaging. It's the Solar Tech hoodie. Sims. I don't know if there's any stuff on the sleeves, which I kind of hope there's not. But on the back of the hoodie is a custom logo of the hookup with a glide bait in a largemouth's mouth. That's pretty badass. So I'm not mad about it at all. I don't have any of these Sims Solar Tech hoodies. This is a size medium, so it should fit me just fine. Now, and hopefully also when I continue to bulk up a little bit. Yeah. So I do like to wear a hood and sun protection. I've got Sims sun gloves that I wear pretty frequently. So I'm not mad about this purchase. It was severely discounted. I want to say that they retail for like $60 and I got this for 26 and change. So it was on super clearance at the hookup. So that is why I picked this up. And then I've got a handful of soft plastics in here. First, as promised, I've got another of the OSP Blitz SSR. And I think I ended up paying about the exact same price that I paid on Samurai. Obviously, minus the shipping because the hookup is local. And if you spend, I don't know how much, X number of dollars, it's free shipping. So they had a couple of the colors in stock at the hookup. And the OSP Blitz line of crankbaits were on crazy discount, 30% off or something like that. So I got this thing for like $14 from the hookup and decided to give it a whirl. This color is, who knows? It is called Ghost Lime Chartreuse. I don't know that I would have guessed that, but I think the Super Tasty Shad, or whatever this original one is called, was out of stock at the hookup. Very classic threadfin shad pattern, and has just a hint of translucence to it. You can see the honeycomb construction in the light, but not like you can with this dude. Not that you guys can see through this in its current lighting, but this is a very translucent color pattern. Ghost Lime Chartreuse. Not a ton of chartreuse on here. In fact, I don't really see any chartreuse, but cool color nonetheless. So I'm excited to have 2 of the SSRs, because I think I've got 2 or 3 of the original Blitz that run just a little bit deeper. So that is another thing that I will keep you guys tuned on. So not surprised. Rich, you out of here? Tight lines to you as well. I caught 1 fish today. I was out for 2 hours. Caught her on a bed using a Geek Crack Bellows Gill 3.8 on a weighted beast hook. And I hooked another fish on a bed that I could barely see, like 20 yards off the bank. It was just windy enough to where I couldn't really get a good look at the fish, and was fishing a drop shot. So 2 different presentations. First one was a Molix Freaky Flex. It's like an elastomer style creature bait that I really like from them, in a white color, and hooked her, but she threw the hook halfway back to the bank, and that came back like a half hour later with a chartreuse colored, or siren, is what Strike King calls it, but it's the Baby Z2. That is one of my all-time favorite baits. Not necessarily that siren color. That's actually a new color for me, and one that you can't find at a lot of places. But because I was struggling to be able to see that bed from so far away, and it was probably in 8 feet of water, far off the bank. So with the little chop on the water, it was very difficult to see, but managed to hook the same fish twice and got her within 3 or 4 feet of the bank. And she got wise to me again and jumped square out of the water, did a backflip, and threw the bait again. So, yeah, didn't go back to try and hook her a 3rd time, but I might in the next couple of days. But did catch this beauty. Really just like a 2.5, 3 pounder on the Bellows Gill. And not mad about it. So that was the only fish that I landed today. And I did have probably a 4 pounder follow my depths slide swimmer 175 all the way back to the bank. Well, maybe 10 feet from me, until I really saw her and that she was hot on the bait. And then I didn't know what the right move was, so I killed the bait. And as it was sinking, she followed it down, and it looked like she was going for it right at the same time that I decided to start working the bait again. And so it was like simultaneous that I started working the bait, and it moved, and she ditched it right as she was about to eat it as it was falling. So it's a damn shame. What can you do? Definitely happens, but I could not get any other fish to react to the glide bait. But again, I was only out for like 2 hours max, maybe an hour and a half. And so to have action from 4 fish and to land one, good enough for me, kind of. So here's a bait that I've had on my radar for quite some time, probably all year this year, that is specifically going to be a smallmouth bait for me, and maybe also a bed fishing bait in the next couple of weeks. And that is the Hazardong Shad in the sight chartreuse color. So the Hazardong Shad, I've got the smaller size in my go bag because I've been prepared to use it specifically on a drop shot. This 3-inch size is apparently a drop shot killer. I've got it in 2 or 3 sizes. I did not know about its unique posture and beautiful ability to swim on a drop shot. So I think it's just supposedly supposed to be a little bit better than, say, the Kitech Easy Shiner, and a little bit more realistic and refined. So I'm excited to have that in especially a very bright color that will appeal to smallmouth as well as trout. So that is why I got that color. It has gone out of stock multiple times this year. And so I was going to buy it on a JDM website and then saw that the hookup had it in stock. So decided to get it there. Tim says, I've got some original Blitz coffin bills that I've literally had to retire because I threw them so much. Dang. Pretty sweet. Well, what do you guys think about the fact that the SSR just has that standard ultra wide square bill that is squared off? You've thrown some in the Gobi color in the past? Yeah, I think that might be the color that... No. I've got the green pumpkin shad, and then I've got like a... is the Gobi the one that looks a little bit more like a... like a motor oil? I think I've got that color as well in the bigger guy. But, yeah, I've got like 2 or 3 packs of each of the 2 sizes. But it's kind of wild that it jumps up from a 3-inch bait that is micro to a 4.2-inch bait. And I would love it if they made kind of an in-betweener size, like a 3.5-inch bait. You know, I've found over the last couple of years that that's like one of my favorite sizes. That Kitech 3.3. Ryan Dyke in the house. Doing well, man. Thank you for asking. I'm just wearing this new Sims shirt that I bought from the hookup. Matt was saying Sims is crazy overpriced. I don't know if I totally agree or disagree. I will say that perhaps some of their stuff, right? Like, is this shirt going to be, is it going to perform that much better than another sun shirt made by a different company? Probably not. But I've got their waders and their wading boots, a few other things made by Sims that I just would not sacrifice the quality for and go out of my way to spend the money. Now, do I like to find a deal on them where I can? Absolutely. So, you know, it helps to know people who either work in the industry or otherwise, and be able to find stuff at a discount so that you can buy the absolute highest quality gear, but maybe not necessarily pay the absolute premium that is standard for what you would pay for top tier gear. Am I right? Okay. Yep. That is the color that I've got as well. Yeah, I think so too. I'm curious to see how well it will deflect with that build that is pretty damn shallow. So we'll see if it gets snagged up or what. Getting them on sale is ideal. I'm with you right there. Yep. So Matt's saying the exact same thing that I just said. All right. So I've got some interesting soft plastics. Let's start with, I'm sure you guys all follow the hookup on social media, especially on YouTube. And this past week, I think they made a video on like most under the radar smallmouth baits, perhaps. So I was kind of disappointed to see that they were repping this bait as hard as they were, because I had already made this purchase and was excited about it staying under the radar for a little bit. But I'm also not surprised that it's going to get some attention. So this is the Ned Rig bait. Some of you guys might like the Ned, some of you might not. This is the Dual Realis Wriggle ND, specifically the Slim 3.0. Now, annoying that I have to rip all these, but I'm going to do it because I want to fish these baits sooner than later. I don't want to hang these on the wall, so it is what it is. It's going to make the package look ugly, but it's going to be okay. Now, these are an elastomer style soft plastic made by a JDM manufacturer. And they've got a little bit of scent to them, and they've got a lot of bit of shape to them. So I got 4 different colors in this puppy. This one is called Newt, I believe. So black and orange. Pretty classic. Now, with the elastomer of this bait and the profile of it, this is not as thick of a bait as a standard finesse TRD from Z-Man. So it is going to have quite a bit more action than you would get out of a finesse TRD. Doesn't need to be stretched to get the salt to come out and stand up, although you can do that if you want to beat it up a little bit. Just to make it look like it's already been getting eaten, make it look a little bit more natural, have that salt come out. I've always been a fan of doing that. But this taper to the worm, when rigged on a Ned head, is supposed to give this thing a pretty unique swim on the fall, which I am very curious about. So on the fall, this is supposed to swim on its way down instead of just fall straight down like a finesse TRD does. And yeah, I could also see this thing being fantastic when thrown on a wacky rig on a drop shot, because it's got less rigidity to it than a finesse TRD. It's a rigging that I've liked for the big TRD and some other larger style Elastec baits, or even not Elastec, right? The Zoom Swamp Crawler and a bunch of Senko style baits. I like to throw wacky rigged on a drop shot. So decided to give this bait a whirl. I got it in 4 different colors. This one is called Bottom Dweller, which is just a brown with like a natural white type of color. A little bit more of like a night crawler type of color. Looks like a Ned Scat. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but yeah, I heard Brendan loves the Ned rig. He totally does. Yes, they are elastomer. And that sent me down a little bit of a rabbit hole. So, also have this in the So that wasn't Bottom Dweller. That was Lodic White. This right here is Bottom Dweller. And let me see if I'm going to pull this out so you can see the color because it looks different in the pack. You know, it just looks like kind of a half green pumpkin, half watermelon red or something like that. But no. Oh. This is almost like, I mean, it is like a watermelon belly with like a green pumpkin red back, but it reminds me of, say, like a Falcon Lake craw or a Heights Hawk craw, where you get that like red back and green belly. And I think that's what I had seen in the colors that made me want it when I was checking it out online. So that's called Bottom Dweller. And then the last color, perhaps my favorite. Whoa. Way more translucent than it looks. This is called Raw Belly CS. Whatever CS means. But Raw Belly. So this has a little red top to it. Now, in pictures, it looks like that. It looks like it's, I don't know what to say it looked like online, but it definitely did not look like a totally clear bait. Just like a smoke type of color with a pink dyed tail. Wow. Well, which side is the head and which is, I honestly don't know which way this thing is supposed to be rigged. It does have the egg sac up here. So I kind of assumed that it's supposed to be rigged here and come out somewhere in or just past the egg sac, and that this is the tail. But a little bit more bulbous and rounded here than it is down here. So it's possible that it's supposed to be rigged like so. I don't know. But like I said, I'm going to throw this wacky rigged some. And I did not know this bait was nearly as translucent as it is. Straight clear color. Wow. CF could be crawfish. I'm not sure. Oh, Brendan. Yeah, let me just continue. We got Ned Baits, dude. Ned. Your favorite guy. Your favorite type of bait. Got 4 packs of Ned Baits, brother. This is the Dual Realis Wriggle ND. It's an elastomer style bait. And these were less than $5 a pack. And they come with 7 in a pack. So that's why I got 4 of them. Couldn't help it. I was very intrigued and I liked the color selection. So I just kind of kept adding them to the cart. And then while I was at it, realizing like, wow, that thing's made from elastomer. I had no idea. And that makes me want the bait that much more, because when it comes to Ned Rig baits, that's a big thing to me, right? The Molex Ned Baits, the Savage Gear Ned Baits, to me, are super high quality, and largely because they're made from an elastomer style material. So we could spend an entire show talking about Ned Baits, but Yeah, Whispers wouldn't hang out here. Rich definitely wouldn't. Not that he ever hangs out here for more than a few minutes, but no big deal. Lure Lab says put a tail spinner on it. It will probably stretch when jerked. Yeah, I used to kind of like doing that, but I don't do it frequently anymore. Is throwing Ned Baits with tail spinners on them. I will say when I first learned about the cover scat and was super skeptical about it, I went ahead and took like a Z-Man goat and chopped off the legs and was like, oh, here we go. This is a cover scat. Not knowing that the action of the bait was really everything and not just the profile. But then I started rigging this thing a number of other ways, throwing the Z-Man TRD spins into it and have done that on a few Ned Rig baits. Although it definitely changes the posture and the action of the bait. So that is all I will say about that. Not to say that I wouldn't do it, but when I'm fishing a Ned rig, I am rarely swimming it. I am usually hopping it or pulling it or even dead sticking it, fishing it kind of like people would a Senko. So for me to fish a Ned rig tail spinner is less frequent, but would I do it? Yes. Have I done it? Yes. I just don't very often. All right. But that is a good suggestion. Okay. So another bait that once I learned that Dual Realis ND Wiggler or whatever it's called, Wriggler ND Slim, Wriggle ND. High buoyancy, durable. Okay. Once I learned that was made from elastomer, I just did a keyword search on the Hookups website to see what else they carry that is JDM and is made from elastomer style material. And there was one other bait that really caught my eye that I thought I kind of wanted to try. And this is the Signal PVC multi-shad. I had never heard of this bait. They make it in two sizes, a 4-inch and a 5-inch. Both of them come with just 4 in a pack. So I figured I might as well get the bigger dog, get the 5-inch, and have a little bit more versatility in what I can do with this bait. So in my mind, there are a couple things that I'm going to do with it. First is obviously throw it on a drop shot. This is going to look like a super natural shad. Just a ghost shad type of color. Secondly, and perhaps the most obvious, is that I'm going to fish this on a chatterbait. As you can see with that split tail, which is super thin. Now, it says it's made from an elastomer style, but I don't know that it is. It seems durable, but maybe the 4-inch is, but not this 5-inch. So I'm a little disappointed about that. Now, is it going to be durable? Yes. But not like an Elastec style bait. So anyway, check out this little nubbin down here off of that anal fin. That is very interesting looking. Really don't see that on any baits. And I think I had seen an underwater video or something of this on a straight swim, and it definitely looked interesting. It's got these stabilizer fins, that anal bead, if you will, and then a very thin split tail design. So I could see this thing being great on a scrounger head or on the back of a chatterbait, on a drop shot, or just on a ball head and fished like a Demiki rig or on, a hover strolling type of rig. I don't know, but I thought I would give it a try. And now that I've got it in my hands, I feel mixed about it. If it was actually made from elastomer, I would probably be like jumping up and down right now. It's funny that I'm not, strictly because of that, but you live and you learn. And I might need to live and learn how to get this back in the packaging because I'm smashing it. Come on, baby. You can get in there without me totally destroying this thing. I might want to give you away later if I don't fall in love with you and absolutely want to fish you. Come on, get in there, tail. Might be able to finagle it from the other side. Bam. So I did ruin the packaging a little bit from this side, but not the end of the world. We got to figure it out. All right, so that's the PVC multi-shad. I don't know what to think of it. Real shad shape and real movement. I have no idea. Okay, and then the two baits that I've had on my radar for a few weeks now. Now, obviously, I told you that Hazardong Shad and the Sight Chartreuse has been on my radar for a while. And then once they said that the OSP Blitz line of crankbaits was on super sale at 30% off, I just knew that I could figure out the rest of an order. And this bait has been on my radar for, I don't know, the last month or two, maybe. And that is because of its versatility. I wish Adam Odin was in here right now, but this is the Adusta Gadget Craw. Okay. Pretty cool that they even have like a, if you want to scan that, go ahead and try to scan that. You might be able to check out their website and see what's up. With the Gadget Craw, but this is a super versatile soft plastic craw imitation that is meant to be rigged, I don't know, 4 different ways or something like that. If you guys follow the hookup pretty closely, you probably would have heard about this bait earlier this year. But, I mean, just take a look at all that's going on with this bait. The super stinky, well scented, by the way, but you've got a very flexible ribbed tail section of the bait. Got a super realistic, maybe hollow, I don't think hollow body section of the craw, but very realistic looking. And then not as realistic, well, still looks realistic, those claws, but they are meant to be pretty aggressive kickers, just like straight flappy doodle. Plus, you've got some crazy legs on here as well. So, well, maybe there's 2 different things going on here. Okay, so let's see if I can pull the crazy legs out of the way. You've got one antenna, and then we pull that out of the way, pull the legs out of the way, and show you the 2 crazy legs, right? Curly tails. So when you rig this thing as a jig trailer, just fully rigged, it has a ton of action on it. And then what you can do is pull these legs off of it, and it will have the same type of action, but maybe you want to fish it on a Texas rig or on a jig, and the legs don't really matter, right? You get a slightly more streamlined profile. You can even remove the crazy legs and the side legs, and then you get a pretty standard craw imitator, you know, something in between like a paca craw and a rage craw, because of the thickness of these kickers. Has a very intriguing kick to it. But one thing you can do is remove all of the kickers. And you know what? I'll do it with this one. Is you can pull off all of the kickers on it. You'll see that the kickers are attached on the chin of the bait. And then maybe you even remove this nose. And guess what you got here? A super natural looking bug that I don't know what bug bait it is that's out right now that has a wild and super intriguing action on the fall, with all of those legs just doing their shimmy thing on the fall. But this is going to be a weight that I fish this bait. I will say that, okay? For sure. I've got enough baits out there. Look at that. I'm not trying to move this bait, and those legs are just going absolutely nuts. I'm holding this as still as possible. So on the fall, it has a ridiculous look, and it's just a bug bait, if you will. So that I'm pretty excited about, and is the main reason that I got it, right? Is that it comes with like, maybe it only comes with 5 in a pack or something like that. I don't know exactly how many. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe only 4 in a pack. So these could be relatively expensive for what they are, but they were on sale. I think just because they were 15% off, but I had heard about them from, of course, a video that Ben at the Hookup made about these baits, and their versatility, because they're called the gadget craw. You know, they've got all these different modes of how you can fish them based on the appendages that you leave on there versus not. And I will say that these kickers, yeah, sure, they've got some realism to them, but when you actually, I don't know if you're supposed to separate these, but I guess you can. But they are thinner up top than they are down below. And because of that, this is like a borderline flange. They have an aggressive amount of kicking to them. Very cool bait. So will I be stocking up on them immediately? Probably not. But even if I just had 4 of these bug baits, if I removed all the appendages on all of them, you know, and was paying $1.50 per bait or whatever it was that I paid to have the bug baits and fish them this summer, I would probably buy them and try them, given that I've seen underwater how it looks as it's falling. And there are a number of other baits on the market that have that type of action, and definitely gets my attention. So that is why I bought those baits. And I believe that wraps up the unboxing. So just the two Adusta Gadget Craws, the one PVC multi-shad, which was the kind of the meh purchase of the pack. 4 packs of the Dula Realis Wriggle ND Slims, and one of the Blitz SSR in that ghost green chartreuse, plus the Sims Solar Tech hoodie that was on super clearance at $26. So that is what I got from the hookup, plus then all that stuff that I got from Samurai with the 2 Edo Shiner SSRs, right? Look at that bill. The Jackal Swing Mikey with that wild looking tail. The Depths Custom B Chatter. And another OSP Blitz SSR. And a couple packs of Kitech chunks. The Kitech Flex Chunk Medium. You know, this is not abnormal for Kitech and all of their juice and their scent to get on packaging and stain up the stickers that go on there, but I am not mad about that. These chunks actually look legit and are something that I will fish on something that is slow moving on the bottom, probably on a football head, and will be a kind of a middle of the summer type of technique for me. But that wraps up my unboxings, and I'm happy to talk about anything else you guys want to talk about right now. I gave you a brief rundown on the fishing that I did today. I have not had an opportunity to get out much in the last week or two, if we're being honest. I went out with my kids once last weekend, and it was kind of a disaster. Very hard to go out and fish with 3 young kids, 7 and under, when they're more excited about just being outside and playing in nature. And I've got to keep an eye on them. I really want to be fishing, but I know that it's important for me to get them excited about fishing and do my very best to get them on some fish. And that's easier said than done, because I like to throw artificials, and the places that we go, 90% of the people that are there are throwing night crawlers on bottom bouncing rigs, and they're catching fish, and that kind of chaps my kids' asses a little bit because they just want to catch fish, but I don't just want to throw night crawlers. So we're kind of struggling, right? I want to go fishing, but I also want to take them fishing and get them passionate about going. And I think for them right now, it's just about catching fish. So I might have to like suck it up. And when I take them fishing, we might have to actually like go dig up some worms, right? I'm not going to go to Bass Pro and buy, a pack of night crawlers. But yeah, just trying to figure it out, use a dressed hook on that tail. Yeah. I very well might. I don't know if I'm going to throw a hook on the tail or a blade on the tail or what, but I've definitely got the dressed hooks to go on it, especially throw maybe a chartreuse one on the back of that puppy, and that could be the deal, right? Might have to be a smaller one because these hooks will want to tangle fairly easily, right? So yeah, it might work on this one. Just throw 1 or 2 split rings on there. That could be the deal. So we'll see. I am going to fiddle around with the bait and with the tail in deciding what to do, but I really like that this is a floating bait naturally. Does have some interesting action when fished very slowly on top of the water, and that chartreuse tail will allow me to see it from a long ways away. But then also it can be cranked down and fished just a couple feet subsurface. And I swear, a big reason that I got this bait was because of its kick out on the pause. But again, don't quote me on that. I don't know for sure. Yeah, flying a bobber is kind of what we were doing. And we were only getting nips from bluegills. We were not even catching trout or bass. And so we were throwing like a trout magnet style presentation, right? Very tiny jig head under a float and throwing little chunks of max scent and other things like that for the most part for the kids, right? Because it's just about casting and catching for them. But I think you're absolutely right, Brendan, that going digging for worms is going to be as fun as going fishing and then catching fish on those worms that they dug up themselves would be like an extra form of, rewarding to them, just like us painting or making our own baits and then catching fish on them, or tying our own flies and catching fish on them. Like it's fun, right? Oh, dude, having kids in general is like learning how to juggle for sure. But going fishing, doing something that you're passionate about with your kids is a totally different level of juggling, right? Like going skiing with my kids, it's next to impossible. Sure, I can, I have to dumb it down, right? They can't come where I go on the mountain and make it back down safely. So there's a limited part of the mountain where they have to navigate, and I have to take it down to where they are. And I'm following them. We're having fun. It's doing what they are capable of doing. But with fishing, I feel like I can just kind of drag them along and set them up, teach them how to make a cast, and then tell them to be patient and watch their bobber. Meanwhile, then I start making a couple casts and I'm doing my thing and just like kind of keeping an eye on them. But that doesn't last very long until they get kind of sick of it. So yeah, it's a struggle for sure. You're right, Matt. Mealworms, crickets. Yep. Yeah, I don't want to buy worms, but yeah, I hear you. You're right. But luckily, so far, I do have the kids' attention. And they've all been in love with lures. Because I've been a bait junkie pretty much their entire lives. My oldest daughter was probably a year old when I like really got the bass fishing bug, and maybe 2 when I started my YouTube channel. And so from a young age, she knew what the difference was between a lipless crankbait and a chatterbait and a spinnerbait and a jerkbait. And it's fun, right? For her to be able to, it was like one of the first things that she was better at than even like a standard flashcards, like word identification. She knew different baits, and it's been the same with all my kids. And so they've all got their own tackle box full of lures with no hooks on them that they just like to look at because they know that that's what I like to do too, right? Is check out my baits and strategize. Think about when and where I'm going to use different lures. Try to remind myself of what I have and when and why I purchased it. But yeah, I frequently will just bring a box of my baits upstairs to kind of check my inventory and remember what I have and think, oh yeah, I forgot I bought that Jackal Re-Range 130. I need to make sure that I throw that sometime soon. Oh man, yeah, that ISM Raver 115. Why did I buy that in the first place? And go back down that rabbit hole. But for me, it's a mental exercise. But my kids like joining in and checking out the baits. So yeah. Frank, I have not seen that. The guy who catches a nice bluegill using a blade of grass folded in half, stuck on a hook. No. I mean, that's got to be a unique place, especially where there aren't 100 people on the bank all throwing night crawlers right next to you, right? That's the disadvantage, is that like my kids want to go to a family-friendly body of water where maybe there's a playground close by or somewhere that has shade where we can go snack and have a picnic. They don't want to just go fishing for 4 hours and hang out in the sun on the bank of a lake. So, yeah, we're working on it. But I super appreciate all of the advice, guys. Yeah, it'll be, in the next couple of years as they learn to cast with a bait caster. My kids are right in between like a spin cast and a spinning rod right now. So it's just about learning the technique of casting and retrieving and slightly different presentations, right? Like my middle daughter wants to cast and wind. My oldest daughter doesn't want to. She wants to watch the bobber. And my son is not yet capable of casting. So we're figuring it out. We're going to customize, what works for each of the kids, depending on their level of interest. And I'm not going to take them out fishing every single weekend. I take them when they show interest. And, if I suggest it and they're not into it, I'm not going to force it. So we're rolling with the punches right now. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, exactly. But it's actually going to be my middle child, Daniel. In fact, that's kind of what we've started doing. Not a MEPS, but what's the one that Philly fishing? I should know. Extreme Philly fishing. What is the inline spinner that he's absolutely in love with? It's the Thomas EP series of inline spinners. I throw that one fairly often, but I don't throw a lot of inline spinners, but did have that one tied on last weekend. No, I was not thinking of Rooster Tail, Blue Fox, or Panther Martin, but I appreciate you guys just popping off like that. No. Thomas. Matt, that's an interesting idea. And you might be right about that. Just giving them a weird bait to throw, right? Might be the trick. I've got a bait stuck in the carpet here, but yeah, giving them, a bug bait, giving them a spider bait, just for the sake of trying it and having something fun to throw. Of course, I would have to turn the hooks way up, perhaps even more than I have here, in order for them to be able to hook the fish. This might be a year or two off, but yeah, giving them something ultra realistic might be the deal in the short term. So yeah, we're figuring it out. But over the last couple of years, we have caught plenty of fish. That let's not pretend like my kids have not caught fish, but it's mostly been on like a trout magnet style presentation or a float and fly. Literally one of my flies under a bobber. You know, that is typically how we've gone about catching fish, is throwing a bobber with a light beaded head or lightweight jig head, some 6 to 24 inches under the float, either as a fly or with a small piece of soft plastic attached to it, that has caught a bunch of fish for us, ranging from the mega sized goldfish that live in our neighborhood. That's the only fish that lives in that pond, to bluegill and bass, and even a couple of crappie and a couple of perch. But a number of different bluegill species, sunfish species, I should say. But yep, we've done it for sure. Hey, YouTube. Yep, for sure. Brendan throwing the spiders. You throw the spider? I bought these like dirt cheap in the winter. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I bought 2 of them and immediately opened one and turned the hooks way up on this puppy. This is the smaller version of the spider, and yet it's a giant spider, but a small frog and a small hook on a frog style bait. So yeah, looks very intriguing, I'll say that, but we're not yet at that point in the season for me to be throwing frogs, but maybe, just maybe, I need to get out there and use it sooner than later. Those legs are just, they're very good looking. They're begging to be thrown. I'll say that. What in the world? Did you catch it or do you just have one? A 25-pound white koi in a lake bayou? I've got goldfish that are probably, I don't know, 2 pounds, 12 to 14 inches, right? And it's possible that they're bigger than that by now, but I could look up some photos from a couple of years ago for you, and show you just how wild these fish are, right? I'll go 2 years ago. How about 2 years ago in May? Here we go. There's some goldfish. Try and find a picture of my kids holding these goldfish. Got walleye and crappie. Tons of trout. Lake trout. I am not looking at perch. Dag nabbit. I'm just scrolling in the wrong area. Okay. I'll just show you what some of these fish look like. I don't need to show you a picture of my daughters holding them necessarily, but here's a couple of just what these fish look like. They're absolute hogs, right? That's a goldfish, you know what I mean? Big dogs. So, yeah, they are like an actual football size, maybe a little bit bigger than that. Probably about 2 pounds. Look absolutely monstrous. So, Caroline, sweet Caroline, have yourself a great rest of your night. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you. Cairo out of here. See ya again soon. Thank you. Frank says, when I was still working in the aquarium industry, a koi sold for $250 Dollars, I assume, not 250,000. $250 per fish is ridiculous. Really? Dude. That's ridiculous. But yeah, no, that was 2 years ago. These same fish are still living in the pond. Um, Now I haven't actually gone fishing for them this year, but I did a lot like during COVID, you know. It was convenient. It was useful. So that's a lot of what I did for a few months. But yeah, I mean, you can see this is when my 7-year-old was tiny. This was 3 years ago. So she was barely 4. We were catching little tiny bass. Um, like look at this fry. We were catching like fry sized bluegill on a trout magnet one day. And then the next day we're catching hog goldfish on like the same rig, right? And so yeah, my kids have caught plenty of fish by now, but it's like just trying to keep them interested, and it's not a year-round activity for us. So that's the other thing is like almost like swimming in the summer is to skiing in the winter. Conventional fishing in the summer is to fly fishing in the colder months. I'll say, particularly in the spring into the summer is when we will go fly fishing. But my kids are not quite coordinated enough or interested enough in fly fishing just yet. So we're like just about at that point where they're coming along in athletic activities, in having the coordination to be able to do something like cast a fly fishing rod. But even right now, there are a few streams and rivers that I fly fish at where I certainly could teach them if they were interested in making the trek to make a roll cast, right? At the end of a cast, to just pick up the line and make one single hard flick of the wrist and then follow that fly all the way down. And when that bobber goes down, to strike and set the hook downstream, we're like right at that point of being able to teach my kids how to fly fish. But for now, it's going to be fishing moving water as opposed to still water. I'm not going to be able to teach them a double haul style um, cast or anything like that. It'll be a number of years before we get into that. But I'm just excited that my kids are willing to go fishing with me. So, yep. For $250,000, are you joking? That's stupid. Holy shit. I just don't understand that. I don't get it. What? Kids can tie flies, put them to work. No, I don't think they could. At their age, they don't have the coordination. I just learned to tie my own flies, um, like 3 years ago. I think during COVID is when I finally bought a vise and like picked up fly tying. And I don't think the majority of the flies that we throw are flies that they could tie. I'll just say that. And maybe on one of the next streams, whether it's tomorrow or sometime next week, I'll show you maybe the top 10 patterns that I tie in terms of like what's most productive for us around here in Colorado and for the bodies of water that I fish. And some of them are pretty rudimentary, and my kids could learn a couple of them, maybe a worm pattern and an egg pattern for sure. But most of the actual fly imitations that we're throwing, or streamers that are supposed to imitate bait fish or otherwise, uh, my kids are not going to be able to tie for a number of years. But you're absolutely right. Someday. Brendan, that's not true. You absolutely could. Did you guys see that deal that I had sent you guys on Instagram that Nick, the informative fisherman, posted on Instagram a couple weeks ago about mending your line? I don't know if you guys follow Nick on Instagram or on YouTube, but I think he's just called Informative Fisherman or The Informative Fisherman. But he made a post about mending your line that was fascinating, because I had actually not considered this until somewhat recently, and didn't learn it in conventional fishing. I learned it in fly fishing while on a guided trip with my dad, and we were throwing streamers. So we were throwing articulated streamers to imitate bait fish, and you throw them out there and then strip them in pretty fast to imitate a swimming bait fish, right? And we're going after big rainbow and brown trout primarily. And so we're throwing fish imitating flies. And so mending your line, you throw it out there, and then as it's laying on the water, then you throw your line over, which takes the slack from your line and moves it, right? And it changes the angle of the, I don't know, the retrieve. So normally you cast out there and it's going to come straight back to you. But if you cast out there and mend it this way and then retrieve it, that bait's going to swing as it comes back to you. So it's a way that you can cast to a piece of cover and then mend outside and have it swim around and stay on line instead of just come straight away from the cover. So he showed a perfect example of like fishing from an angle. You know, let's say that this is the dock and you're coming from here and you cast toward the dock. If you're pulling out, it's coming away. But if you come here and mend toward the dock and then retrieve, it will swim parallel to that dock before then coming back to you. Which is just, it's something that I didn't learn until pretty late in the game. And I was so excited to see him actually show that in a conventional fishing technique. I forget what bait he was throwing, but to think that you can do that with a wide variety of techniques and not just with streamer fishing while fly fishing is super cool. So after you make the cast, while you've got that slack, before you reel it all up, you pick it up and flip it to whichever side you want the bait to swim in that direction. And the bait's not going to come directly back to you. It will actually swim in the line of how that slack is bowed. It's super cool. So definitely should try it if you haven't. And if you don't quite understand what I'm talking about, you should check out Nick, the Informative Fisherman, or ask me when I'm dead sober and I might be able to explain it slightly better. I don't know. So Daniel says, I haven't done that with fly gear, but I've used braid on casting setups on windy days and make it do that. Sure. So a lot of times we do that unintentionally, right? When our line does that on windy days and it creates slack in the line. and we don't mend it to make it come back the direction we want it to, it automatically does that, right? But do you ever intentionally do that? Are you casting at an angle toward a piece of cover and want it to stay in the strike zone? You could mend in that direction and then start retrieving, and it will swim away from you instead of directly towards you, to stay in the strike zone when perhaps you want it to. So you should give it a whirl. Oh, Tim, that's badass. That's super cool. Yeah, I mean, my kids are 7, 5, and 2, right? So, um, it, it's interesting how much COVID affected things, right? Um, so my kids are all really just like becoming capable of swimming on their own and riding a bike on their own. Um, but COVID slowed things down a tremendous amount where the pool wasn't open for the entire year. And uh, my kids just weren't interested in riding a bike, uh, or wanted to use training wheels. My oldest daughter, who's 7, um, has always been a little bit more timid than my middle, who is 5. She's more adventurous. So she kind of pushes the older one to do things that she either wasn't interested in or maybe didn't have the confidence to get into. So yeah, it's fascinating how things go. But yeah, as they get older, they will be very active young kids, and mine are going to be the kids that do not have access to smartphones or anything like that until they're in high school, really until they need it. So we're probably going to be those parents these days that that are holding our kids back, but it is what it is. Lure Lab says a Chad Shad is very easy to use too. I'm not sure how that fits in, but yes, I've got two Chad Shads on the way from Discount Tackle. So spoiler alert, that is all that I got from Discount Tackle this month. And I'm going to be unboxing it in, I don't know, sometime in the next week. So you guys will get to see them up close and personal. I'm sure you've seen them on other streams, but I will show them to you side by side alongside other baits, like the Tiny Clash that also has a pretty steep joint. And then I'll report back to you guys when I get a feel for what the action is actually like. So anyway, Brendan, hope you have a great rest of your night. I am going to get out of here as well. I've been on for an hour and 43 minutes. It is officially 11 o'clock my time, 1 o'clock Eastern time. And I've got to go check on my wife. She is working tonight, but her aunt is dying right now. She has pancreatic cancer, was just diagnosed a month ago, and was put into hospice yesterday, and things are not looking great. So we are in the last few days of that, and it is heavy times. So I need to check on my wife, make sure she's doing okay while at work, and I need to get myself to bed. I've got a long day with my kids tomorrow. We're getting into the cold plunge, guys. I bought a cold plunge for my house. I'll tell you guys more about that next time, but I've got like a portable, inflatable cold plunge, and all 3 of my kids, my 2-year-old included, tried it today, and it was badass. So yesterday was the first time, maybe 2 days ago, that I tried it, and we're starting at like chilly temperatures, right? So like 60 to 65 degrees. We're going to like ease our way into cold plunging. So for this first week, we're going to keep it, chilly, and then we're going to start lowering the temperature of it and eventually get down to, mid to high 40s. And yeah, so pretty cool deal. My kids want to do the cold plunge again tomorrow, and I'm excited about that. But thank you guys for the condolences. It is super unfortunate. Cancer sucks. It's unfortunate because like they live out of state, and we see them a couple times a year, and she's just the sweetest lady. Absolutely love her, and my kids see her like a grandma, and we are good friends with her son, who is my wife's cousin. See him often, and we just saw her like 2 months ago here in Colorado. They visited and stayed at our place, and she was her total normal self. Was great, such a pleasure to see. So great with the kids. We would have never known until last month when she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And it's just been a brutal last month. And she's had a stroke in the meantime and has been in a ton of pain, been on a bunch of meds. And as of the other day, just decided to forego any official treatment because the cancer has spread so many places that it is really inoperable. And so by doing radiation and chemotherapy, it might slightly extend her life, but worsen her quality of life. And she and her other family members have just opted out of that. And it's hard to wrap our head around. So sorry to get heavy on you again. I know I did this last time when giving Brendan some life advice, but yeah, cold plunge is the deal. I've been big into going to the gym and doing sauna the last 2 months, but cold plunge is something that has been on my mind. And yeah, the cold plunge is wild, dude. I thought I was too, um, but I'm fairly confident now, and think that I'm going to be capable of handling a true ice bath or cold plunge when all's said and done. It takes training, just like lifting weights or anything like that. But yeah, Frank, that's the thing about a pancreatic cancer. Like we've known people who have gone in a matter of a month, and that's kind of the way this is. And we know people that have gone years with pancreatic cancer, like the guy who officiated our wedding, my wife's best friend's dad. Um, he had pancreatic cancer for over 2 years when he married us, and then he died a month later. It was like he was waiting for our wedding, um, and then he just let go. But yeah, super sad. So thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate that. Dang, Tim. You started working at 11 years old? That's crazy. Thank you, Brendan. I super appreciate it. Guys, thank you. Please, if you are the type to pray, please keep a super sweet lady. My wife's aunt. Her name is Arlene. We call her Mo. If you could pray for her, and not only that, you know, she might stay with us for a few more days in order for some extra family members to get out and say their proper goodbyes, but that you could pray for her to go peacefully. Um, and for her to have closure and for her to join the Lord and go to a better place. I would super appreciate that. So I know that that's kind of imposing. You guys might not be on the same page about that, but I would appreciate that very much if you guys are the praying type. So thank you guys so much for hanging out tonight. Hope you have a great rest of your night. I very well might be on tomorrow because Sunday night, my Denver Nuggets are back on. It is the NBA Finals. We whooped the Heat's ass last night, and it felt oh so good. And we're going to do so again on Sunday. So I will almost for sure not be on here on Sunday night. But tomorrow night, my wife works again, and I might be back on. So hope you have a great one. Enjoy your weekend day tomorrow. If you're out on the water, tight lines, go catch them. The full moon is like 2 days away. Fish are on beds in most places around the country, including where I'm at. So I might drag my kids out to go fishing tomorrow. Drag is a relative word, as we talked about tonight. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Appreciate the support, the prayers in particular for Arlene, Mo, my wife's aunt. Thank you very much. Love you guys. See you soon. Bye.